welcome back to my channel. For today's video, as you can tell by the title, I will be discussing all the books that I read in the month of June, and you might want to grab a snack for this one because I read 17 books. You heard me right, 17 books. Let's go ahead and get right into the video because it's going to be a long one. Okay, so I'm actually going to be referring to my planner because I can see what is going on with all my books that I've read because I read way too many of them. But my first book that I read this month, I'm going to go by the order of what I read. And the first series that I read, some of them, if they are series, I'm going to conjoin them kind of together and not like talk about them separately in a way. I don't know. Anyways, the first book that I read was Whispering Pines, and I've talked about this a couple of times on my channel. It is very, very similar to Stranger Things. There is a talk of like their own version of Hawkins Lab, their own version of Gates to a Different World, and you follow two kids' storylines, but they kind of mesh together, and so you'll have the perspective of one kid and then this perspective of the other kid. I forgot one of their names. The other one's his name. One of them is named Caden, and the other one I don't remember her name. I think it's Riley or something like that, but I totally could be wrong. But it is very, very good, and I would highly recommend it since it's Stranger Things is like the big thing right now. I gave the first book 5 stars, and I gave the second book as well 5 stars. However, the second book, the storyline was a little like iffy because it had to do something with bugs, and not that I'm like, I don't know, it just like the way that they brought the bugs into the storyline was just kind of like meh. And so yes, so just be in mind with that storyline and stuff. But yes, I gave both of them 5 stars. The third book comes out in September, and so I cannot wait to see what happens next in the series. I read these books in I think like 2, maybe 3 days. I read them super, super fast. So there's the first 2 books I read this month. The next book that I read, I actually have a physical copy of. It is Lauren Graham's Talking as Fast as I Can. And this book I read, I did read Whispering Pines for the Suns Out Books Out readathon, and I read it for yellow on the cover. And this one I read as a book that a friend recommended, and Liv is who recommended this to me because she is part of the Gilmore Girls readathon, which is basically what jump-started my obsession with books again, and also getting into BookTube and that type of stuff and like going down that rabbit hole. And so this started it all for me, and so this was like the perfect time because I was able to finally finish Gilmore Girls, and I have been wanting to read this once I finished Gilmore Girls, and it just took me so long, but I did it. And yes, and this book was really, really good. I also gave it 5 stars, and I loved how she talked about Gilmore Girls. I also really liked how she talked about Parenthood because that was another show that was a really good show to me. Like, I binge watched that show so fast. I actually really liked that one a lot better than Gilmore Girls. It was very similar to me to The Fosters in a way, but with not like too like scary things happening, like intense stuff like how they have on The Fosters. If you've ever seen this show before, it was on Freeform. But yes, so that was my third book that I read, and then I jumped into 2 books from a book series that I read back in March. This is the second and third one. It's the Love, Sugar, Magic series, and the second one I gave 4 stars, and the third one I gave 2 stars because the second one was very similar to Hocus Pocus, and if you know, I have a cat named Pocus, and it's like one of my favorite movies, so I had to give it at least 4 stars because it still kind of had that, it didn't give it full 5-star like vibes to me, so 4 stars was plenty for me to give it, and then it kind of went downhill on the final book, so I had to sadly give it 2 stars. But you follow a girl that her family owns a bakery, and the bakery has a magical element to it, and basically very similar to Encanto, where like everybody has their certain type of powers in the family, and it's got like Encanto vibes mixed with like Hocus Pocus vibes in a way. But anyways, that was that book series. I'm trying to talk as fast as I can. And then the next book is one that I also got the idea from Liv to read. It was a graphic novel called Be Prepared, and I sadly have to give that book 2 stars because I read it in like an hour, I think, and it just was not for me. I did not really care for the storyline. I don't know, like some parts were good, some parts were bad. I just like, well, bad to me, I don't know. I just couldn't, I didn't really follow it very well. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I just couldn't get into it. It was just not the book for me. So yes, so that is that book. Then I jumped into a really thick series, which I've mentioned in my last video. It is the Truly Devious Murder Mystery series. And if you have not read this before, you need to take the time to read this. It is so good. I did give the first book 3 stars, the second one 4, the third one 4, and then the fourth one also 4 stars. I didn't give it fully 5 stars because some stuff just didn't resonate with me. I didn't really like, it wasn't 5-star material, but 4 stars was pretty good for my ranking style. But basically you follow a girl named Stevie who has been obsessed with murder mystery cases for the longest time, and her favorite one is the Truly Devious case that was from a old school called, it was the Ellingham Academy, I'm pretty sure is how you say it. Yeah, Ellingham Academy, and it was like a school that they went to, that it was a school that kids ended up like being killed at in like the 1930s, and she ends up getting into this school and figuring out what actually happened. But you follow the original storyline of the main like murder mystery storyline, and then her perspective of her figuring everything out. And sometimes you'll find stuff out before her and stuff, and it's really, really good, but it's very stretched out, so you won't find out everything unless you read the first 3 books. Like 3 books is how long it is. So if you like a stretched out mystery, then I would recommend it. But if you are one that likes to have a one and done book, mystery book, then this would probably not be the one for you. However, I will say it was very, very well written, and one of my new favorite authors. It's by Maureen Johnson. And the 4th book of the series is actually a sequel to that 3-book series, and there's actually going to be a 5th one coming out in December, supposedly, I think. And you follow her going to, it kind of branches off of something she mentions in the 4th book, and then she goes and deals with another mystery. But basically Stevie, in between the summers of her junior and her senior year, because you can only go to the school during those years, and you also get free tuition and everything when you get accepted into the school. There's only a handful of kids that can be accepted, about like 30 to 50 kids I think can be accepted, and you follow her in the summertime when she gets to go to a camp that had a murder mystery situation happen. A murder case that happened, and it's a cold case. She doesn't know if she can solve it or not, and this guy is like, I desperately would love to see if you can solve it because you solved the other case that has been a cold case for like years. And so she goes to a summer camp, and it's like a summer camp vibe situation. So it was really, really good. It was cool to see, like, it was almost like a Where Are They Now kind of thing, because it does pull some of the side characters that were her friends into that next book from the original series. So yes, so anyways, there's that book series. And then I got into reading The Counselors and The Cousins. And The Counselors I gave 2 stars. And if you've been following the Suns Out Books Out readathon, and you've been following me on Instagram, you will kind of know why. It just was not a good writing style. I just didn't really care for it. I did not like the characters, like the main two characters. I absolutely did not like them. I didn't like their thought processes, how they were treating each other. It just was so toxic and just ew to me, and I just could not deal with it. But I do have a whole video going up. I don't know if it's coming up before this or after, but it explains like all of my thoughts, because I did a whole reading vlog with this book. And then The Cousins, I gave 3 stars, and that book was, I actually do have that book as a physical copy. This is what it looks like, The Cousins, and this is by the same author that wrote One of Us is Lying and Two Can Keep a Secret, and I know she has a bunch of other ones that I'm planning on reading. I just haven't gotten to them yet, but this one was pretty interesting. I was shocked by a lot of stuff that was happening in this book and was not expecting it. It actually was really, really good, but then it started kind of dialing down, and then it made me just end up giving it a 3 stars, which is kind of like a middle thing for me. Like, I didn't absolutely hate it, but I also didn't absolutely love it. It was kind of like a middle ground for me. And this book, it's one of those that like maybe I will pick it up, maybe I never pick it up again. But yes, so this book was very interesting. Like I said, I have a whole video going up on this specific book with the counselors as well. And then I those actually, the counselors and The Cousins were my last 2 books for the Suns Out Books Out series, or not series, readathon. And then in the ending weekend of that readathon, I jumped to a different readathon that was a Hello Summer, Hello Winter readathon with Sarah from Sarah's Reading Nook, and with a bunch of other lovely people hosting this readathon. And the 2 books that I read for that was one I picked up from my library recently, that I got when they were doing a $1 book, They were doing a $1 book sale, and I picked this one up that is called You're Invited to a Creepover, Truth or Dare, and this was my thriller book. And then this one was my summer book. It was the LBD Friends Forever, and this one I gave 2 stars because I don't really know, like, I think it's because also it's very, very like young book, and it was very interesting, but I just didn't feel like it deserved like 3 stars. I think 2 stars was a pretty solid one for me to give it, and it just like, it had ghost elements. It was very interesting of a book, but yes, it was just one of those that filled the prompt, and so I picked it and decided to read it. And then this one I've had forever, and it was a DNF for me years ago, and I just could never get into it. And let me tell you, I gave this one, what would I give it? I gave it 3 stars. However, I don't know, I mean, I liked the writing style, and that's why I feel like I gave it more than 2 stars, because the writing was really good. And for some reason though, it's really weird because the cover looks very middle grade to me. But it's actually high schoolers, and the way that the writing style was so like how I remember growing up as a kid, and like just the stuff that I was into and the things that like my friends were into. And so, but yes, so this book was very interestingly written, and I don't know, it was kind of like you follow 3 girls that they're friends, but I think this was actually also the final book to a series when I looked it up online to see more about it, because I've had it for years and didn't really know much about it. And you follow them going to if you know, like when Florida has like their big beach party blowouts for like the summer, or like spring break, like think of spring break in Destin, Florida, or like Panama, Florida. That's kind of like the vibe of this book. But they are they end up getting jobs at a hotel, and near the area where all these parties are happening, and they end up being in working in the hotel where all the like celebrity performers and stuff are going to be staying. And so it's very, very interesting. But anyways, that was that book. And then the next book that I read, I actually just finished these books yesterday. It is the Greystone Secrets, The Strangers, and then The Deceivers, and I have not read The Messengers. I was going to try to, but the books were way too long for me to finish in the amount of time that I had left for the month. So I gave the first book 4 stars and the second one 3 stars, just because the storyline kind of started dying out, and I'm not really sure when I'm going to be reading the third book of the series, because I started kind of getting bored with the storyline. It has a similarity to Stranger Things and a little bit like Coraline, without giving too much away, because that is like a big plot twist of the whole series. But yes, so there's a lot of twists happening. It's very, like, I don't know, you follow these kids that their mom goes missing and they're trying to get her back, and then they become friends with this other girl, and they like have to like go stay with them, and then they become friends with her, and all this stuff happens without giving too much away. But like, that's basically what happens. Their mom, like, basically, also you hear about these other kids that are very, very similar to these kids that show up, that are supposedly kidnapped, and so you're like, okay, are these the kidnapped kids and they're pretending to be the other people, or what's going on? And that was kind of like where the storyline started. And then the last book that I read for the month was this graphic novel that I've been seeing around like for so long, and it's called Ghosts, and I ended up giving that one 2 stars as well. I read it in like 30-45 minutes, but it wasn't really for me. It was very similar though to the Love, Sugar, Magic stuff, so like the Encanto vibes and like the Love, Sugar, Magic books, but it just was not my favorite. Like I said earlier, I didn't really care too much for the Love, Sugar, Magic series, and this one was very similar, so it kind of didn't really make me like it as much. But anyways, those are all of the books that I read this past month. I cannot believe still that I read 17 books. Actually, today is July 1st when I am filming this, and I've already finished. I filmed a daily vlog, reading vlog-ish thing today, and I have already finished my first book for the month, starting the new month, and I've also started reading my second book. So I am so far on a roll. I've also hit 52 books that I've read so far. Technically now it'll be like 53, almost 54 books now. But my goal for this year was to hit 100 books, and so I feel like with me being 2 over from stopping for the from the month of June, when I stopped for the month of June, I was at 52 books, which is 2 more than 50, obviously, but which is 2 more than halfway there, which is, I feel like, is pretty good. And I almost feel like if I keep up with reading more than like watching TV or whatever, then I might be able to go over 100. But 100 is my goal for the year. So I hope you like this video. Give this video a thumbs up if you did, and make sure to subscribe because I'm so close to hitting 150 subscribers. And also, thank you guys to any of you that have recently subscribed and are new here. And let me know what you're currently reading and what your favorite book was this past month, and what book you're excited for the new month. And yes, and also follow me on Instagram because I always am posting on my stories. Like, I try to post as often as I can, and I always am I'm always updating what I'm currently reading. So if you're wanting to know what I am actually currently reading, if I'm not posting as much on YouTube, you can find out all that information on my Instagram. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!